Welcome, Richard, and thank you very much for sparing the time to talk with us today. We've got some questions which we've drawn up. The first of one is, if elected, what would be your top priorities to protect and restore the natural environment in Thirsk and Malton?
I think my top priorities really resoundingly sit with agriculture. I think we can make a real transformation by supporting regenerative farming techniques across the whole area. This is a real passion of mine, being brought up in a local farm in the Gilling Valley.
How do we get the balance right, though, between land use for growing crops, nature restoration and energy production?
It's always got to be a balance, as you say. I think we've seen what's happened in the last 50 years with modern agrochemicals and fertilisers has caused depletion of the soils, and it's caused a reduction in nutrition in our food and also a loss of natural habitat in the area. So we know that balance hasn't worked, or hasn't been a balance, we've been out of balance. So I think moving back to restoration and seeing how far that needs to go till we get that balance will just come through trial and error, really, and looking at results and sharing facts.
Are there ways in which government can help farmers transition to sustainable agroecological practices?
Yeah, I think there are. Farmers need to be paid properly for what they do, and it's very clear at the moment that's not happening. Supermarkets are taking enormous profits. Farmer gets, I think it's about 7 to 9% of the value of their crop. The rest of it goes into supermarkets' pockets. I think it was 49 billion that Tesco's made last year. It's astonishing, and farmers need to be subsidised but also incentivised to farm with these different techniques.
What needs to be done to strengthen Ofwat and the Environment Agency's powers to hold water companies to account about sewage spills? Or should the water companies simply be nationalised?
You've said it there, nationalised. Public services owned by the public, it's not really rocket science. Enormous amounts of profits have been pulled out over the last years since the privatisation experiment happened, and it hasn't worked. The profits have gone into shareholders' coffers, pension funds, and they should have been reinvested in the infrastructure. I think in any government that the Greens are involved in would be driving extremely hard to have public services owned by the public.
What do you think is the most effective way to accelerate the take-up of low-carbon solutions such as EVs, heat pumps and solar installations in this area?
We need planning legislation. At the moment, the solar panels can be put anywhere, and of course their solar panels are going to be put close to a decent grid connection. So planning permission needs to define where these installations go, rooftop, lower grade land, in my view. We also are seeing industrial buildings going up all over the area. A good example just outside Malton on the Pickering Road there. New industrial estate built, and there's not a stitch of solar on any of the roofs. It's completely bizarre. So there's planning there. There is no incentives. I put solar panels on my workshops and actually got charged more in business rates because I put the value up of my property. So I managed to save 70% a year is solar generation, and was penalised for doing so. Also, our grid infrastructure is weak, and again this is a privatisation issue. Profits are ripped out and the grid has not been expanded and strengthened, and we really need a strong grid to be able to generate locally and efficiently.
As with all political decisions, taking the public with you on climate and nature policy is crucial. How do you think we can achieve that? Do you start with what you think people will accept, or what the science says is necessary?
I think you've got to be above all honest with people. and not make it a political football. It's reality that we've got to do it, set it out clearly and simply, and work out what it's going to cost. And actually, it doesn't have to be a costly experience. As I've pointed out, putting solar on my rooftop, £140,000 investment, £25,000 a year saving in my bill. So it's really simple maths. You know, that's a business decision, but it's also a massive environmental positive, and there's loads of those to be gained. Subsidising fossil fuel exploration, which is completely insane. So, yeah, we've got to just put our money where our mouth is and spend it in the right place.
Is there any particular message that you'd like to get across to people?
Oh dear. So what particular message do I want to get across? I think it's really, if you want someone who's local born, bred here, has been successful in business here and understands, I think, to a reasonable level what's required to solve some of the problems, then vote for me. I'm hardworking, I'm enthusiastic, I'm a good problem solver. I would admit firstly that I wouldn't have all the solutions, but I'd do anything to try and find what the solutions are and work with people to do that. And, you know, if you want green, then vote green.